In this installment, we're going to be going over Thursday night football matchup between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Houston Texans. Let's get into it. Hey, yo! Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Chef D, and I'm here to bring you the winning ingredients for your Thursday night football showdown slate on DraftKings between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Houston Texans. But before I deep dive into that, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you follow me at Instagram and Twitter at MessageJetsD. Don't forget about the TikTok at Chef_D91, and don't forget about the Patreon if you want more DFS, betting, and fantasy football advice. All of those links will be provided down below. You already know the deal. The first thing we're going to look at before we get into the captains and the flex options, we're going to talk about the injury report. Definitely have to go over who's going to be in, who's going to be out. On the side of the Houston Texans, the 1-5-1 Houston Texans, key injuries here is Malik Collins, starting D tackle, did not practice Monday and Tuesday. He's trending towards being out. We'll see what happens Wednesday. Wide receiver Nico Collins was out last week and has missed practice in Monday and Tuesday as well. He's trending towards being out. So we could see a bump in Chris Moore and Philip Dorsett at the wide receiver position here. Neville Hewitt hasn't practiced the last two games as well. Justin McCray is a backup guard. And AJ Cann is another guard that they are really well. He was able to practice, so that was a good sign to see on Tuesday. So Justin McCray looks like he's going to be out. AJ McCann looks like he's going to be fine. And then we're waiting on news about Brandon Cooks. All right, so he's been tweeting about the Houston Texans organization. Obviously, he played barely last week. He played, but they didn't pass him the ball until the end of the fourth quarter. So we have no idea what's going on there. He wanted to be traded. That might be a stay away position. So we'll wait and see what happens. And plus, it's a bad matchup anyway, going up against the elite secondary in the Philadelphia Eagles. We're talking about James Bradbury or Darius Slay. They've locked down Justin Jefferson already this year. So I would want to stay 100% away from Brandon Cooks. Let's look at the Eagles side of the ball. We got two key injuries here. Jordan Davis, backup D tackle. He's looked like he's not going to play. And Josiah Scott, he's a backup nickelback. He's looked like he's not going to play as well. Everyone else should be fine in this. All right, so let's get to the captains. All right, first up for the captains that I'm going to speak of. Will he be my favorite play at captain? Maybe. It's going to be a flip of the coin. Jalen Hurts is still in a good position despite the fact that this is somewhat of a bad matchup. Okay, we're talking about the Houston Texans. They're not going to put up points to have this game go competitive, all right? They're going to be a slow, methodical team that's going to run the football, so that doesn't help as well. So Jalen Hurts, when he does have the football, he's going to have to be highly, highly efficient, which he has been all season long. That's why I have no problem going to him at the captain position, okay? But remember, he's going to be highly owned, so it would be very sneaky if you go with other options that I'm going to bring up at that captain position for your DraftKings lineups, okay? So definitely remember that. Houston Texans are home. They're probably going to slow down the pace here. They're going to be a run-first team anyway. They're going to feed Dameon Pierce, all right? That's one of the weaknesses against the Eagles is the rushing game. So Jalen Hurts here is a solid option at the captain. Has been outstanding, hands down. You cannot talk bad about Jalen Hurts. This man was a lock in your fantasy football drafts, and he's a lock for your DFS lineups, and he's going to be a lock for this game on Thursday. So I like him. He's going to be in every one of my lineups. The question was, would he be a smash at the captain? All right. And he still is. We got the rushing upside. We have the passing outside, even though this is going to be a very, very ugly game on Thursday, as usual. Okay. As usual. Next, we're going to bring up AJ Brown. So you can't pay up for everybody. All right. And if someone was going to take a hit in a game that I think that's going to be a little more slow and methodical, not much explosion, AJ Brown might be a candidate that we might have to leave on the side, but he is still considered a very great option at captain, all right? It depends, okay? We don't know how this game's going to go. We could get the AJ Brown game that was week 5 against Arizona. We could get the AJ Brown game that was week 4, week 6. If we're paying $18,000 for AJ Brown at the captain position, to near $20,000, we need him to produce. We need this 30 plus. We need 25 plus fantasy points for him to come through at that price, because we're going to have to pay down at every other spot. We don't have to smash on every other selection, okay? So A.J. Brown obviously is a great play, but is it the game environment for him? Let's look at wide receivers. Fantasy points allowed to wide receivers. The Texans and the Eagles are top tier, all right? I adjusted the stats to week 5. It was the same thing if I moved it back to week 1, but I like how defenses adapt during the season, and I like to push it just a little bit further. So we're going to look back to week 5, and we see the Houston Texans are number 3 in the league and number 1 in the red zone, because they are not allowing a lot of points. All right, this is a team that's going to be slow and methodical. They are not a fast-paced team, and teams have to be super, super efficient when they get that football to get in the end zone. Not a lot of high volume, 30-plus games going back and forth, right? No big, high-scoring events happening when you're going against the Houston Texans, okay? So that can be considered with A.J. Brown. Definitely have to just mile it down just a little bit. Could be a solid flex play. Might want to simmer down on the captain play. Now, the guys that we really like at captain, it's going to be Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders here. A lot of people might stay away from this, but this is a perfect environment. Running backs, fantasy points allowed to running backs. Houston Texans are one of the worst in the league. Absolutely garbage. Should be dead last. Yes, they are. 32nd. This is where you want to attack the Houston Texans, all right? This is their weakness. Huge gaping hole, all right? 29th in the red zone. 183 yards allowed rushing. This is why we love Jalen Hurts, because Jalen Hurts is going to be factored into that rushing as well. So Hurts, Miles Sanders, you want to throw in Kenneth Gainwell. Yeah, we're going to go crazy with the running backs. I think this is a slate where we can go multiple running backs in our lineups. We should throw 3 running backs in our lineups to definitely be cut against the grain and very, very contrarian. That has huge, huge upside. So, like I said, 183 yards allowed to the running back position, 6.7 yards a carry, 1.7 TDs allowed a game. So, clear-cut smash play. Love Miles Sanders at captain. Love Jalen Hurts at captain. Next guy we're going to talk about is Dameon Pierce on the other side. We got to talk about one Texan, right? And this is their star stud, all right? Rookie running back Dameon Pierce. This is a guy that's going to see 20-plus touches a game. They're going to feed him, all right? And this is also a great matchup because the weakness for Philadelphia is against the run, all right? Is against running backs. Looking at the same chart, we're going to go down to the Philadelphia Eagles, okay? It says 17th and it says 14th in the red zone, but the key factor here is 98 yards a game. And what is the yards per carry that they're allowing? 5.1. 5.1 yards a carry for a very, very top tier running back we got coming onto the scene in Dameon Pierce. Came through with flying colors in the preseason, and now he is really shining as the stud of this offense. So Dameon Pierce is going to be a smash play. One of the key guys you need on the other side of the ball in each and every one of your lineups, all right? He should be an absolute lock. Davis Mills, this is a horrible spot for him. I'm not playing him captain. There's no way in hell I would play him at captain. Flex, most likely not as well. He's been absolutely putrid this whole entire year, and the matchup does not get better. This is a top 5 defense in the league. Stay away from Davis Mills. Stay away from Davis Mills. Do not play him. All right. Next guy we got is Devonta Smith. All right. So you expect one of these 2 wide receivers to come off. It could be a Devonta Smith week. He had a poor performance against Pittsburgh. It was more of the A.J. Brown. So you haven't seen a game when both of these guys really go off between Smith and A.J. Brown. It's kind of been one or the other. But the more consistent guy has been Dallas Goedert, who we're going to talk about very, very soon. So Devonta Smith at 8,200, I have no problem going to him. But he's not one of my favorite top-tier options at the captain position. All right. Brandon Cooks, we have to wait and see if he's going to play in this game. You could consider him, all right? He's going to receive a lot of targets, but the matchup is horrible, all right? So he is not a captain play. He is not a captain play. He can be a flex play. That's how far I would go with Brandon Cooks. There's just too much going around the organization, him tweeting about the organization, him leaving practice and tweeting about the organization. It's just not a good scenario. He wants to spill beans about the team. it's just an ugly situation right now. They should have traded him, but they were not able to get a trade, get enough assets back for Brandon Cooks. I guess his value is low, obviously, but Brandon Cooks, we're gonna stay away from the captain spot. He can be considered in the flex if he's going to be the starter, because there's no Nico Collins. All right, there's no Nico Collins. They got to throw the ball to somebody, and Brandon Cooks could be that option. All right, captain plays as well, it will be the Eagles defense. I will bump a defense in the captain. This is the first time I'm doing this in video, is because they're just a very good defense. They're just an absolute great defense in a great position. And look at the fantasy points a game. We're talking about double-digit fantasy points that they average all year long. 14 against Pittsburgh, 15 against Jacksonville, 18 against Washington, 12 against Minnesota. So we have some upside here, possible touchdown upside. Davis Mills loves to turn the ball over as well. So the Eagles are going to be very opportunistic in this situation to get the ball, take it to the house, get a sack, get a fumble. Davis Mills makes a ton of mistakes. So we're going to go with the Eagles defense as our last play at the captain position. Let's move over to the flex. All right, last but not least will be the flex ops. All right, for the flex options, the first ones we're going to talk about will be Dallas Goedert. All right, if I see the wide receiver struggling in this game for the Philadelphia Eagles, I see Dallas Goedert as being the consistent receiver on this offense because they're going to be running the ball all over this team. That's going to open up things, hopefully, for Dallas Goedert. He's been just super consistent, even without touchdowns. He only has 1 touchdown this year, but has 32 receptions, almost 500 yards this season. All right, so he is on great pace to get to that 900 to 1,000 receiving yards this year. So I love Dallas Goedert. Look at the consistency: 6, 6, 9, and 6 in the last 4 weeks in that target department. We're seeing 3 games out of the 4 with over 50 yards receiving. And this, like I said, this is without catching a touchdown. So I imagine him in a great spot to get a TD this week. I love Dallas Goedert as a flex play and can be considered as a captain as well. All right, so let's continue to go down. We're going to pass these backup quarterbacks. Now we're going to look at some of the secondary options for the Houston Texans. If Nico Collins is going to be out. So Nico Collins is going to be out. Chris Moore steps up at the wide receiver position. He saw 0 targets last week. 0 targets, okay? But he does have upside. We've seen it against Las Vegas, where he had 10 fantasy points. We've seen it against Chicago, where he had 3 for 63. So let's look at the snap counts, the reason why that we're looking at these wide receivers. So we saw last week, Brandon Cooks, 81% of the snaps. Nico Collins was out last week with 0. So who got the usage? All right, we saw 63 from Chris Moore right here, and we saw 83% of the snaps to Philip Dorsett. All right, he's going to be the main slot wide receiver. So Dorsett and Chris Moore are going to get the bulk of the work at the wide receiver position. So we can bring him up as an option. And then we saw Philip Dorsett get the majority of the snaps. He was second leader on this team. Philip Dorsett, we saw 5 targets, only got 1 catch. So that was a positive sign to see. He got the looks. It just was not functional at all. It was just a horrible, ugly game against Tennessee. Philip Dorsett is going to be the guy that we're going to go to. I'll lean more to him since we saw more of a connection between Davis Mills and Philip Dorsett. We'll lean more to him as the number 2 wide receiver in this offense. All right, so at $4,000, he becomes a decent play at the flex, okay? So next, we're going to look at will be Kenneth Gainwell. Kenneth Gainwell is going to get looks rushing-wise and receiving-wise, despite the fact that they're going to split carries with Boston Scott as well. So this is a 3-back committee, but Kenneth Gainwell will see some snaps and has the opportunity to get in the end zone as well. All right, this is the glaring weakness. So I want all the running backs going up against the Houston Texans. So the number 2 option would be Kenneth Gainwell. I would not be surprised if he's in the winning lineup for Thursday Night Football Showdown in DraftKings. All right, so this could be a super sneaky play. Definitely has the explosion. Definitely can win one-on-one when he comes out and goes on one of his wheel routes or a little slant for Kenneth Gainwell, a comeback route. He's going to be super, super explosive. I wouldn't be surprised if he breaks the slate. All right, let's continue to go down. Now we got kickers. All right, we're staying away from Houston Texans defense. I don't care if that they're home. It does not matter. We're not playing the Houston Texans defense against the Philadelphia Eagles. So he's a no-no. Jake Elliott and Kyle Farbarn are going to be options. All right, low scoring environment and slow-paced environment is going to lean more to defenses, the dominant defense, and to kickers. So Jake Elliott and Farbarn, I don't know how to say his name, so we're going to go with Farbarn, are going to be options this week. All right, they're both going to be options. So we're going to go with Jake Elliott at 4,800 and Farbarn at 5,007. All right, no, that's actually Captain Price. So we're going to go with both of those two. So let's clear out these guys. Let's see if we can find any other gems down low. All right, so Boston Scott, let's see what he was able to do last week. Did he get more majority of carries? Oh, yes, he did. Let's check the snaps. Let's double check this, and then we'll make our decision if we're going to go with Kenneth Gainwell as the number 2 running back, or we're going to go with Boston Scott. All right, we're going to decide it on snap share. So last week in week 8, it was an absolute split. It was an absolute split in week 8. We have it right here. 26% to Kenneth Gainwell and 25% to Boston Scott. All right, so in passing situations, you're going to see more Kenneth Gainwell. In running situations, you're going to see Boston Scott. I want the guy that's going to run the ball. All right, so we're going to move Boston Scott over Kenneth Gainwell. Boston Scott will be our option as a deep sleeper, as the number 2 running back getting carries. We've seen it in previous matchups when Boston Scott gets a late touchdown. That can be super crucial. He's going to be one of our bottom flex plays this week. So I love Boston Scott as a cheap play. Let's see if we can find any more down below. The number 1 tight end for this team will be O.J. Howard, okay? So if we're going levels, we're going to go Dameon Pierce. We can consider Brandon Cooks, Philip Dorsett. And the 4th guy we're going to look at will be O.J. Howard, all right? He's had one blowout spot all year long, pretty much. We saw 4 fantasy points in week 8. We saw 4 fantasy points in week 4. But a bright spot we saw from him was week 1, where he had 17 fantasy points and 2 touchdowns. So if he's able to get in the end zone, he's the guy getting the majority snaps at that tight end position on this team, even though they have 3. Definitely just make sure you know about that. But I'm going to lean towards O.J. Howard as a good punt play for Thursday. Other than that, I think that's the cheapest I want to go. Quez Watkins is the number 3 wide receiver on this team. He's a guy that's going to see slants, screens, end arounds. They're going to give him an opportunity to get the ball in creative ways. He could be a guy that can get a touchdown. So that's the last mentioned guy. So we're going to clear out our deep sleepers here, and the guys we're going to key in on that are going to be absolute locks in each and every one of your lineups. I don't care where their position is going to be. Jalen Hurts, it's going to be Miles Sanders, and it's going to be Dameon Pierce. All right, focus your 3 on that, and then a 4th would be the Eagles D. All right, focus your lineups on these 4 plays, and you should be totally fine for Thursday. So thank you guys for tuning in. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you follow me on Instagram and Twitter at MessageSD. Also, tomorrow, guys, I'm going to be coming out with a free pick, the free pick of Thursday Night Football. Stay tuned for that. You're going to want to know where I'm leaning. And this is not, minus 500 play, all right? No, we're giving you minus 100. All right, minus 110 play. We're giving you even money, okay, on this play. So thank you guys for tuning in. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And peace out.